Here is the second half of the Proof 3 video that is going to be about the completion of the assumption dependence column. The reason we need to complete that is that this proof makes a provisional assumption. Whenever a proof does that, you have to guarantee that its conclusion depends for its truth only on the premises of the argument and not on any provisional assumption that's added in order to get to that line. To complete this, we're going to use 3 different rules, and those 3 rules will enable us to say for every line on the proof what it depends on for its truth. The 3 rules involve, first, lines that are either premises or provisional assumptions. Premises and provisional assumptions depend on themselves. So lines 1, 2, 3, and 4 all depend on themselves. The other 2 rules concern the justification for any line derived from lines 1 through 4. One rule is called the standard rule, and it applies to all justifications except those that involve a rule that makes a provisional assumption. Those lines have their own special assumption dependence rule. Lines justified by all the other rules depend on whatever their justifying lines depend on. Listen to that again. Any line justified by rules that don't make provisional assumptions, and in this case that's arrow out, and in, and out, depend on whatever their justifying lines depend on. So look and see how that works. Line 5 is justified by line 4, which depends on itself, so 5 depends on 4. Line 6 is justified by 1 and 5, so it depends on what 1 and 5 depend on. 1 depends on itself, 5 though depends on 4. So 6 depends on 1 and 4. Similarly, 7 depends on 4. 8 depends on whatever 3 and 7 depend on, and that's 3 and 4. 9 depends on whatever 8 depends on, 3 and 4. 10 depends on whatever 8 depends on, 3 and 4. 11 depends on whatever 6 and 10 depend on, and that's 1, 4, and 3 and 4. So 11 depends on 1, 3, and 4. 12 depends on whatever 2 and 11 depend on. That's 2 and 1, 3, and 4. So 11 depends on 1, 2, 3, and 4. 13 depends on whatever 9 and 12 depend on. 9 depends on 3 and 4. 12 on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 13 depends on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So finally, the last line, it depends on, it's justified by arrow in, so it has its own special rule. 14 depends on whatever 13 depends on, except for the provisional assumption that is its antecedent. So 14 depends on 1, 2, and 3. Those are the premises, and that means line 14 and this proof don't violate the big rule. Its conclusion depends for its truth on only the premises, and we're done.